Treason shall never go unpunished. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you cry. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 saddest Game of Thrones moments.
Do it quickly.
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're taking a look at some of the most heartbreaking moments in this critically acclaimed fantasy series. Yes, this Emmy-winning show is full of dragons, sword fights, and sex, but it's also packed full of scenes that make you want to weep and sympathize with even the most hated characters. Since we're covering the first 6 seasons, and sad moments are commonly pivotal, this is your spoiler alert. You have been warned.
Take me for a hostage, but let Robb go. Robb, get up. Get up and walk out.
Number 10. The battle's first casualty.
Do you like games, little man? Let's play a game.
Gearing up for the Battle of the Bastards, most fans didn't have much hope for Rickon. Considering the Boltons have a penchant for flaying men, many fans feared that the young Stark would meet the same fate. However, that wasn't the case.
Ready? Go.
Instead, Ramsay, channeling the same twisted tactics he'd used to torture Theon Reek Greyjoy, toys with Rickon and Jon. Manufacturing false hope, he sends Rickon running across the barren battlefield towards the safety of Jon's army, shooting arrows as he races for his life. Ramsay, an expert marksman, deliberately misses several times before striking the gruesome death blow right as Rickon reaches Jon. Watching his youngest brother fall, Jon is in pain before the battle even begins.
Don't.
Number 9. Cry Direwolf.
And what of the Direwolf? What of the beast that savaged your son?
Although there are many beloved aspects of Game of Thrones, the Direwolves seem to hold a special place in the hearts of fans. The Direwolves are the loyal best friends and protectors of the Starks, and the sigil of their house. Massive and vicious yet adorable, they terrify those who oppose their owners.
No, not Lady. Lady didn't bite anyone, she's good! Lady wasn't there!
They are not, however, invincible, as we sadly discovered in the show's second episode, when Sansa's lady bites the dust. After Arya's direwolf Nymeria attacks Joffrey and runs off into the woods, King Robert Baratheon orders Stark Patriarch Ned to execute Lady for reparation. It was an unjust end for Lady, and the tears that flowed from Sansa likely fell from the eyes of fans as well.
Stop them, don't let them do it, please, please, it wasn't Lady!
Number 8. When the sun sets in the east. Game of Thrones can make you despise a character one episode and force you to sympathize with them in another. Fans experienced this for the first time with Khal Drogo, a man who's initially terrifying, but who becomes something of a heroic figure the more we learn about him and his love and loyalty for Daenerys. The fact that he's a total badass doesn't hurt either. It's tragic when, cursed by Miri Mazdur, the great Khal Drogo is reduced to a catatonic state. In an act of love and respect, Daenerys puts Drogo out of his misery, smothering him to death. Worthy of a far greater death, the loss of the Dothraki behemoth is a tragedy for all.
When the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, then you shall return to me, my sun and stars.
Number 7. For the Watch.
For the watch.
The weight of this scene was enough to break the internet. After Jon Snow, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, had gone against tradition and joined forces with the Wildlings, a faction of brothers led by Alliser Thorne began to plot a mutiny.
It's one of the wildlings you brought back. Says he knows your Uncle Benjen. Says he's still alive.
Are you sure he's talking about Benjen?
Said he was First Ranger. Said he knows where to find him.
Tricked by his young ward Ollie, Jon is brought to the courtyard where, one by one, each traitorous brother plunges a blade into his body, repeating the words for the Watch. As he suffers in disbelief, he looks into Ollie's eyes as the boy lands the final strike, leaving Jon to bleed out in the cold snow. It's a cold-blooded betrayal that would later cost these traitors their lives.
Ollie.
For the Watch.
Number 6. The Red Wedding.
I haven't shown you the hospitality you deserve.
Arguably one of television's biggest shockers, Roose Bolton and Walder Frey's brutal betrayal of the Starks was gory and left jaws on the floor. But the Red Wedding is on this list for the tears it prompted, not its shock value. And you can be sure that the waterworks were flowing by the time this brutal scene came to a close. As Robb Stark sees his wife Talisa and their unborn child brutally murdered at the hands of the Freys, he stands petrified as Roose fatally stabs him. Then, having lost her whole family, Catelyn gives herself up to death as her throat is slit. In this moment, it seemed as though this was the end of the Honorable House Stark. Number 5. Up in Flames.
I want to help you. Is there any way I can help?
Stannis had completely bought into the Lord of Light and the mysterious visions of Melisandre the Red Woman. He was willing to do anything asked of him, as long as it landed him on the Iron Throne. With his army out of supplies and suffering, he's persuaded by the Red Woman to appease the Lord of Light by offering king's blood in the form of the sacrifice of his own daughter Shireen.
Where's my father? I want to see my father!
It will all be over soon, Princess.
At the stake, she piercingly yells for help from her mother and father, while they stare on in silence. The moment when Davos discovers the truth behind Shireen's fate is also tragic, but it was her brutal death at the hands of her father that broke our hearts.
Please, Father, please! Please, no! Please, no!
Number 4. Shae's Betrayal.
Tyrion, put down the crossbow.
Tyrion, the man who drinks and knows things, is a cunning player in the Game of Thrones and a master manipulator. However, he's not prone to violence, finding it brutish and inhumane. Still, he succumbs to brutish behavior when he finally reaches his breaking point.
Shaming your father has always given you pleasure, hasn't it?
All my life, you've wanted me dead.
Yes. But you refused to die.
Already betrayed by his family and sentenced to death, Tyrion, on his way to escape, discovers his love Shae in his father's bed. She too had betrayed him in the courtroom, but sleeping with his father added insult to injury. We see Tyrion have his vengeance on both Shae and his father, but it offered little recompense.
She's in there.
Are you afraid of a dead horse?
Number 3. Ned's Beheading.
They're taking him to the Sept of Baelor. Who? The Hand of the King.
The culmination of the first season of Game of Thrones proved just how brutal the show could and would be. Ned Stark, the one redeemable man in King's Landing, was too naive and trusting, which landed him on the chopping block.
I come before you to confess my treason in the sight of gods and men.
This scene left lumps in throats for many reasons. Sansa, tortured by Joffrey, is forced to watch with a front row seat. Arya, helplessly mixed in with the crowd, can do nothing to save her father. And of course there's Ned, who, stunned and kneeling before the jeering crowd, slowly realizes the savagery of the game he was forced to play. Sadly, he couldn't escape his fate. Number 2. Ygritte's Last Words.
Don't talk.
When the wildlings attack the wall, star-crossed lovers Ygritte and Jon find each other for an inevitable showdown. Jon, ready to die, refuses to fight. And just as Ygritte reaches the same decision, she's struck by an arrow from Ollie. Jon rushes to her side, holding her in disbelief. Just before she dies in his arm, Ygritte tells Jon what she's always known about him. that he knows nothing.
You remember that, Kay? I should have stayed in that cave.
The forbidden love between these two resulted in a number of tragic moments, including when Jon confessed his love for Ygritte as he left her to return to the Wall. But it's her final words and his devastating loss that brought tears to the eyes of fans everywhere.
We'll go back there.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Before we unveil our number one pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Go.
You pledged yourself to me. You swore to obey my commands for the rest of your life. Well, I command you to find the cure. Wherever it is in this world. I command you to heal yourself. And then return to me.
His name was Aemon Targaryen. He came to us from King's Landing. A maester of the Citadel, chained and sworn brother of the Night's Watch, ever faithful. No man was wiser or gentler.
Number 1. Hold the Door. Hodor's origin had been the subject of countless fan theories, but no one could have imagined the tragic reality. While under attack from the White Walkers and their zombies known as Whites, Bran is helpless as he looks into the past. On the run in the present, Hodor blocks the exit, holding back the Whites and sacrificing himself for Bran and Mira. Bran hears Mira scream "Hold the door" and makes contact with young Hodor, a boy named Willis. Bran's intervention sends Willis into a spasm, repeatedly screaming "Hold the door."
Hold the door! Hold the door! Hold the door!
His screams slowly morph into Hodor as the Protector earns his name, painting a tragic portrait of a hero destined for one moment. Never forget to hold the door.
Hold the door! 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 Hold the door!
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.